I guess we can move on to the first game of the Sunday slate, the 12 o'clock game. This is a really interesting game for me. I think this is like third or fourth best game of the week for me. I have the New Orleans Saints at the Atlanta Falcons. It's a close spread. I think PFF right now is favoring Atlanta by a little less than a point. A lot of questions. I think we can finally put our concern to the side, away a little bit on Kirk Cousins. He looked good enough to me. I think we can all agree on that. Some questions defensively. I thought they should have had that game. Everyone was talking about a couple calls here and there when they played Kansas City last week for Atlanta. What are your thoughts on how you guys feel about Atlanta to date? And then we could talk about New Orleans after the fact for sure.
I mean, just on my end, Kirk Cousins is back. I mean, the guy he's doing what he did in Washington. He's doing what he did in Minnesota. He's using his weapons. I feel like Ray McLeod has burst onto the scene as a true fantasy target now, just based on how much Kirk Cousins has been feeding him the ball. But, this is what we've come to expect from Kirk Cousins. He's going to spread the ball around, give it to his weapons. And with a running back like Bijan Robinson, he makes that offense truly dynamic. And we saw it, obviously they struggled week 1 against the Steelers, but everyone has to this point. I mean, they've been arguably the best defense in the NFL. So if we put that game to the side, I think we can see that Kirk Cousins has shown up against the Eagles and the Chiefs. And those are two legit defenses. So, in a game like this, I've tried to give the Saints as much leeway as I can. But when you have concerns along the offensive line, and when your all-pro center goes down, or, he looked like he was getting ready for an all-pro season, that's going to be a serious concern for the Saints going forward. And I think that the Falcons are going to be able to exploit that. I think that the Falcons offense is going to be a little too much for the Saints to keep up with, especially when they're going to be underhanded along the offensive line. So give me the Falcons here to keep rolling. And Kirk Cousins, he's proved any doubters or critics that would have thought he would have taken a step back with that Achilles injury. He's not running around. He's not exactly Lamar Jackson out there with the ball, but he's stationary and he's spreading it out. So he's getting it done.
Yeah, I think their offense is moving both through the air and on the ground. I mean, Bijan Robinson, I don't believe scored last week, but still had around 93 yards. I mean, they're moving the ball on offense. I like them to cover a 1.5 spread at home against the New Orleans Saints. I think they do have a good defense, but I would have thought this was going to be, well, since it's a division game, obviously it's a 1.5 point spread. Thought it would have been a little closer, maybe 5.5. I like the Falcons to actually take this one over from an offensive perspective of the ball. And I mean, Kirk Cousins, like you said, Pat, has looked very good. Started off these games actually very hot. Even if you want to look at taking the first half for the Falcons, if you're not too sold on full game, I think their offense has proven that they can at least hang in the games. That might be the line to take this week.
That's some good insight by both. I think, as you mentioned, Pat, that injury to Eric McCoy is way more serious than anybody could ever talk about on a daytime TV show. Borderline all-pro. I thought he was what made their run game go early on to start this season. And he's the reason why Lucas Patrick was playing so effectively, in my opinion, at left guard this year. So he's going to have to slide to center. It looks like they have Udo. He's going to slide to left guard. We'll see how that injury affects their run game, which has been very, very explosive to start the year. One thing I will mention in regards to Atlanta to keep an eye on, two of their stud offensive linemen. They got their center. He's one of the best centers in the league, Drew Dahlman. He is questionable with an ankle injury. And then their tackle, Caleb McGarry, he is questionable as well with a knee injury. So just keep an eye on those injuries along the offensive line. I think, Kirk Cousins, we like to say, like, he looked great. He looked great, but without two of your guys, if they're not ready to go, I think that's going to spell trouble for him. But I like what you guys are saying. I think Atlanta has looked very good offensively. Kyle Pitts has looked like he's a major factor this year. It looks like Zach Taylor's going out of his way to get him the ball. It seems like the first time since he's been in Atlanta. So I think they're going to build off of a strong performance last week. I think they should get that win. I do like that first half call by you, Mike, to have the Saints, or I'm sorry, the Falcons take that half.
And how about, can we give some love to both the offensive coordinators in this game, Clint Kubiak and Zach Robinson? I think we should keep an eye on both of these guys for head coaching positions next year, just with the way they have their offenses going. We know that offensive, with the way things are going down with Eberflus right now, who knows the next time. I mean, I think that they're going to be prioritizing offensive head coaches because, we're going to get into it with the Bears, with how Eberflus may be, pulling in the reins on his aggressive quarterback. But I love what Zach Robinson and Clint Kubiak are doing. So shout out to both of those guys. Zach Robinson was interviewing with an OC position with the Bears. He could be interviewing for the head coaching job next year. So we'll see.
And I think if you're leaning on the Saints, I think this also could be a big bounce back game for Derek Carr, who was playing very well in those first two games, leading up to the, obviously last week, not as good, kind of turned back into the pumpkin. But I think that Derek Carr actually could have a very big bounce back game. We've already seen him have the connection with Rashid Shaheed and Chris Olave in the past game. That could be, definitely something I think that pushes it pushes me towards taking the Saints to maybe even win outright. Now that I'm thinking about it, could be the buy low spot.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely, you're good either way. Taking these divisional games, they're going to be some tough matchups. But two really exciting games I'm looking forward to.
That'd be a good game.
It should be a great game.